Hey guys, today I'm going to start organizing my yarn stash. As you can see behind me, I finally got a shelving unit, which means I actually have a spot to organize all of my yarn, which is super exciting because my yarn has been kept in boxes and bags, as you can see, for about the last year. So if you guys are new here, my name is Eli. I run my own business, Crochet Made by Eli, and I started my business about 7 or 8 months ago. Since then, my yarn stash has definitely grown quite a bit, and I have a need for proper storage now. I did move about 2 months ago maybe, so a lot of my stuff is still in boxes and bags just everywhere, but having this shelf is a really good step to finally start organizing it and get a bunch of stuff off my floor. So this is what I'm working with. Almost all of that is yarn or crochet creations. I do not have enough yarn to fill all of this up yet, of course, which is good because I do not need that much yarn. But I do have a lot of plushies that I've made that I would like to actually see instead of just having in bags on the ground. So I don't completely know how I'm going to organize this. I don't have like a set idea, but I know I really like organizing things by color and by like texture and stuff. So of course I want like my acrylics together, my cotton and my chenille and stuff, each in their own areas. But in certain sections, like especially my acrylic, I do have quite a bit of colors, so I think I can start organizing them by color a bit by section. As I'm doing this, I know I'm gonna find a bunch of yarn that's all tangled up and needs to be caked up. I am not gonna do that today. That will be a project for another day. So I think I'll take out any of the yarn right now that is nicely caked up or in a full skein and get that organized, and then the rest of it I'll set aside to cake up properly. So I guess let's get into organizing. This box is all cotton yarn, and this is the only cotton yarn I have. So I think I'm just going to keep it in this box and just put the box on the shelf. Alright, here is where I'm up to so far. Clearly I have a lot of blue. Just funny because I don't even use blue that much, but I think I had ordered a bunch of different shades of blues and greens for when I eventually start making the Ice King and BMO from Adventure Time, because those are two of the next patterns that I want to work on. And I have a tiny, where's my hand? I have a tiny little bit of orange and yellow, good amount of green, purples and everything, lots of black and lots of gray. The funny thing about the gray is that I had bought 2 skeins for a custom order that I had a couple days ago, and either the same day or the next day after I had bought it, my Nana found some of her old yarn stash and gave it to me, which included 2 skeins of gray in basically the exact shade that I needed. honestly, I wouldn't have used that yarn for the order because it's Red Heart Super Saver, I think is what it's called, and I don't like Red Heart yarn because it's fairly scratchy. But it was such funny timing that I got 2 skeins of gray basically the same day that I bought 2 skeins of gray. Now I have 3 skeins of gray. So I'm sure I'll be changing a lot of this eventually as I start using it, and my goal would be to cake all of this up into the little round cakes. I have a couple of them up here, like these ones, because then they're super easy and ready to use, but I think they'll also stack nicer on here. And the plush fluffy yarn, I'll have to figure out for sure how I want to organize that. But that is most of the yarn I have, and I now have a couple bins of stuff that needs to be caked up. So that that's definitely going to add a lot more. Like, for instance, I have this pink, which is going to make a really big cake because it's about half of the 1 pound skein, maybe a bit less than half. But I was doing my center pull as usual, and now it's a big floppy mess, and I'm not just going to put that on the shelf because that's not going to sit good. And I have a lot more plush yarn like this where I really just need to cake it up, and that's going to fill up probably the 2nd and the 3rd row. So that leaves the bottom row to put all of my tools, supply type things, maybe some work in progress items. Alright, so this is all of the yarn that I caked or balled up today. Most of it is in the little cakes from my yarn winder, but a couple of them I just kept in their original skeins, or in these little balls that I already had. I just clipped them so they won't come apart this time. As you can see, this was my pinks and purples of my scrap yarn. So I do still have, I think, 2 more bins to go through, which is mostly like blues, greens. I think this is a good amount. These red ones killed me. Also, look at these. They are so close in color, but they are definitely different and slightly different thicknesses, which is annoying because like one little cake of this isn't gonna get me much, but both of these together would be great, but I can't use them together. This one is such an interesting one. The texture of it, it's this, so it's pink, but it has little bits of purple and little bits of like almost yellowy green throughout it. And of course the texture is so fluffy and interesting. I've had this one for so long, but I haven't had anything to use it on yet. But I think it'll make such a unique project eventually once I have something to do with it. So a couple of these I'm gonna put on these shelves because they're nice cakes. The little ones I'm gonna put in like a little bin or basket. I actually need to show you what I did with my fluffy yarn. So I had this bowl, so I put them all in my bowl. It works for now because I don't have too many, but I think eventually I'll probably swap this and do all my tiny skeins in here and get like a bigger basket for these ones. But yeah, I just thought that worked for all my little scrap skeins. Alright, I got a couple of them on that shelf there, and then the rest I just put in here. And as I go through the other two bins, I think I'll fill this up with my little scrap skeins. And these bins are great because they actually fit really well into the shelves. They are a little bit thinner than it, but it's a good solution with using what I have on hands. Hey guys, it is another day and I wanted to get back to organizing my scrap yarn today. So I have two bins left. One of them is mostly just like some fluffy yarn that I really just need to put into a little ball and it should be fine. And then the other one is the scrap yarn that I've been avoiding for like a year. So that one might be a little bit more difficult. So this is what I'm working with. This is the fluffy one. I just need to scrap a couple things. I think I've got, yeah, one acrylic in here, but it's mostly just some very small amounts of scrap fluffy yarn. And then this one, some of this is already caked up, maybe, I'm not sure how much of it, but a good amount of it is already caked up. And then I think there's just, yeah, this. But the good news is that is all I have left to organize. So I just need to get through these two bins. And honestly, the one isn't looking as bad as I thought it was going to be. But I just need to get through these two and then my yarn will be all done. And then I can show you guys the finished setup. Have you guys ever seen it do this? It made two skeins, or two cakes. Like, what is that? Like, what? It's done this for me before. Basically, anytime I use like really cheap yarn, like this is I think just like dollar store yarn. But like, why does it do that? It's so weird. Now this is going to be even harder to cake up than it already was. So it's been a couple hours. I was making some really good progress on caking up all of my scrap yarn from that bin, but I had to pause while I was in the middle of caking it up because I had a really bad flare-up of my symptoms just kind of out of nowhere. And if you're chronically ill, you understand. You can be feeling great one minute, like, well, not great, but you can be feeling like fine or baseline, and then a couple seconds later you feel like you are dying. So I think it might have been triggered from having caffeine earlier in the day, which I know better, but sometimes you just want a little coffee. So But I had to lay in bed for a few hours. I'm feeling a bit back to normal now, so I'm going to continue working on the scrap yarn. This is how far I've gotten though. This pile is all yarn that is caked up or balled up, so making really good progress. This is all we have left in this one, so a few more smaller skeins and just random scraps all over, and then this thing, which we will open up in a little bit. The lighting is also going to be pretty bad during this part because I just cannot handle having a light on me right now. Having any light directly on me always flares up my symptoms, and I can usually deal with it for the most part if I keep a fan on me, but I'm not taking any risks right now when I'm not feeling good, so it's gonna be a little dark, but that's fine. Alright, so I have now finished caking and balling up everything that was in my first bin. Other than this, I mean, it's already in a ball, but we're going to open this up and figure out what is in here because my Nana gave this to me in a bag of a bunch of old yarn like months ago. And as you can see, it's fluffy on the outside and there's gray and white on the inside. And I have no idea what this is. I've been wanting to open it for so long and I just never got around to it. So we're going to see what's in here. I know there's white fluffy for sure. So let's see. Do you guys see that? So it's white fluffy attached to a gray. And inside of the gray. Okay, let me just cut these apart because I would never use these two together. Okay, so we have all of this white fluffy fur something. These are two different ones too. This is not all the same. Okay. So we've got this fluffy one, which is like a creamy white. And then we've got this white one, which is much more of a white and a different fluffy texture. Then we've got this. So we have this really thick gray. This feels like it would probably be a weight 4, but it's a very thick weight 4, like maybe almost a 5. And then plushy yarn. It feels like Bernat blanket, I believe. And I think, yeah, that's the base of it. So I have no idea why those were all together, but 4 little scrap balls, I guess. All right, I have officially finished caking and balling up all of my scrap yarn, which is amazing because I've been putting it off for so long. And honestly, it didn't take as long as I thought it would, but it did still take quite a bit of effort, which is why I put it off for so long. But here is my beautiful yarn shelf. I am so happy with having this set up and having my floor clean. I have barely anything left on my floor now, which is so good. I do have a little bit left on my floor, so you can kind of see the metal bars down there. So that is part of the pieces for a clothing rack that I'm going to be setting up. But it's only part of the pieces because half of them were in one box and then there's some longer poles that are in another box. I don't know which box. So at some point, whenever I eventually find those pieces, I will be setting that up and it's gonna go in the corner of my room. So you can kind of see the setup a bit better. So where my mushroom tapestry is, I'm gonna be putting my big clothing rack there, and it has 2 tiers, and I'm going to use that to display some more of my wearables and just some of the crochet pieces that I've made. And then I have this bin here is completed crochet projects. I believe most of them have been listed on my Etsy. I just haven't sold those ones yet, or there's a couple in there I still need to, I think there's a couple of tapestries that I need to block, so that's fun. And then I have 1 box left from what was originally a pile of about 10 boxes and multiple bags. So that one just has tapestries, paintings, and some hammocks that I'm going to hang up. So it's a little bit more of the unpacking, setting up my room. But I finished my yarn, and that was the goal for this video. So I'm so happy with that. As you can see, I've got the third row is just full of bins, and that is all my scrap yarn. And the top two is just my regular acrylic, cotton, and plush yarn. Let me bring you guys a little bit closer so you can see the details. So this bin is all of my kind of scrap plushy yarn. So all of my little skeins. This is a very, very pretty bowl. It has these beautiful flowers painted all over it. And then there's a few medium-sized skeins back there. And then you can see I've got like my greeny blues in there, and then this one is like my pink, brown, white, I don't know. Like I mentioned, a lot of this is just going to change as I work through my yarn and get other yarn, but this is a great starting place. This bin here is my current orders that haven't been picked up yet. So I have a penguin, this is Gunter the penguin, and a mushroom lighter holder necklace. I just put them on there to keep them together. And then I also have 2 axolotls in here. So a blue one with green accents and a green one with blue accents. This customer purchased it for her little brothers, so cute little matching ones. Just waiting for these ones to be picked up because they are local, but there's no like rush on it, so I'm just gonna hold on to them until they pick them up. This bin is currently empty, which is awesome. This bin has my blues, pinks, purple, red kind of, and this bin has grays, black, browns, creamy colors, yellow, green, I don't know. I just somewhat sorted them by color, but I don't know. It works, it makes sense. The annoying thing in here, ooh, that doesn't go in there. I have so many different whites, like this one, and this one, and this one. I felt like I had more, but I have at least 3 skeins of white, and they are all different textures and different shades. I think you can kind of see, but they are all slightly different. Yeah, and then the bottom row is just my materials, like I mentioned. So I've got over there is my yarn winder and like knitting needles, just extra supplies I don't use often. This bin is going to be a project for another day, but this one has a bunch of old random pieces, like the stem of a pumpkin, so just little pieces I need to take apart. This one has my stuffing and my scrap yarn bag that I use for stuffing, and then this was just some projects that are mostly finished, I think, and just have a little bit left to do. So yeah, and then the top of it, of course, you can see, put all my stuffies up there. So I've got a bunch of plushies that I made up there. A lot of my bongs are up there, and my crochet blunt. I've got my 2 dragons, gnome, Jake the dog. I think that's everything up there. And then, like I mentioned, I'll be putting the rack up there, clothing rack, in front of the mushroom thing. And then this side of my room has my desk, and you can see I have more plushies up there, more plushy bongs. I've got my Mary Jane buddies. I've got a little bear with a heart, a frog. So yeah, my room is really starting to come together, which I'm so happy about. But I'm still not feeling the best, so even though I do have a couple more days to finish up this video, I am gonna end it here so I give myself enough time to actually edit it and post it without pushing myself, so I can rest as much as I need to. So there will absolutely be another part to this video of finishing unpacking, going through the rest of the stuff there, setting up all the tapestries, posters, and stuff all over my walls. So I don't know how many more parts will come out about this, but absolutely a part 2 will be out at some point. So if you watch this video all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching and supporting me and my channel. I appreciate every single one of you guys so much. This is such a fun platform to be on. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments which plushie of mine is your favorite, because I have so many in here. And don't forget to subscribe, because I post new videos at least once a week. Sometimes I get a second one out, but I post every Friday at a minimum. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye!